A baby trapped 22 feet underground in a hole only 8 inches wide. For 58 hours, a whole country listened to her cry through a pipe in the ground, not knowing if they were hearing a child who was dying or already dead. The baby would survive, but one of the men who saved her wouldn't survive what came after. Why? Imagine this isn't news footage. It's your backyard. Midland, Texas. October 14th, 1987. One phone call, one forgotten well. One 18-month-old girl who suddenly disappears into a black hole in the dirt. This is the true story of baby Jessica. 3700 Tanner Drive. A small house. A simple yard. A few toys. Jessica McClure is 18 months old. She's playing outside while her mother, Sissy, runs a tiny daycare from their home. In the middle of the yard stands an old steel pipe, an abandoned well from the 1940s, about 8 inches wide, loosely covered by a rock. Nobody's thinking about it. Not today. The phone rings inside. Sissy steps in for just a second to answer. When she comes back out, some of the kids are pointing at the ground. Jessica fell. She looks around. No, Jessica. Just a round, black hole in the dirt. A hole just wide enough for a toddler's body, and deep enough to become a grave. Sissy drops to her knees and screams into the darkness. For one horrible second, there's nothing. Then, echoing up from 22 feet below, a thin, terrified cry. Imagine screaming your child's name into a black hole and hearing your baby answer from the bottom. Emergency crews reach the house within minutes. Police, firefighters, paramedics. They look down and see the problem instantly. The shaft is only 8 inches wide. Jessica is somewhere 22 feet down. Head up, one leg jammed above her, the other hanging. No adult can fit into that pipe. You can't just lower someone in. Any hook or rope from above might shove her deeper into an even tighter bend. If they make one wrong move, this rescue turns into a recovery. Doctors warn them. Blood flow is being cut off to her pinned leg. Her body heat is draining away into the cold ground. Slowly, her tiny body will start to shut down. So they're stuck with a brutal question. How do you reach a baby you physically cannot reach? They come up with one desperate plan. Don't go down the well. Go beside it. Drill a new shaft straight down, just next to the old well. Then dig a small horizontal tunnel across to the pipe that cut into the pipe. Pull her out sideways. On paper, it's perfect. Underground, the earth fights back. The soil under Midland is hard caliche and rock. Jackhammers barely chip it. The first crews make progress in inches per hour while Jessica hangs half upside down in the dark. Above, rescuers lower a microphone into the well. They hear her sometimes cry, sometimes hum a children's song. Her voice is the only proof she's still alive. But every time that sound fades, one question hangs over everyone in that yard. Is she slipping away while we dig? As night falls, TV cameras arrive. By morning, the rescue is live across America. Millions are watching, but watching doesn't break rock. They need heavier tools and people who know how to punch holes through the earth. Midland is oil country. When normal rescue gear fails, the city calls the drillers. An oil field company brings in a powerful drilling rig normally used to bore wells. They set it up in the tiny backyard and fire it up. Rock shatters. Dust blows out of the shaft. A new vertical hole, wide enough for a person, goes down just below Jessica's level. Then the machines have to stop. The final approach is too delicate for heavy steel. From the bottom of that new shaft, rescuers start digging a horizontal tunnel by hand. The space is barely big enough for one man to wiggle through. One of those men is a young paramedic named Robert O'Donnell. The world will soon call him a hero. The price of that word will follow him for the rest of his life. Try to picture lying there yourself, face in the dirt, roof inches above your head, knowing a baby's life depends on how fast you move. Robert and the others chip forward. A few inches. Stop. Check direction. Dig again. Above ground, doctors watch the clock point 24 hours, 36 hours, 48 hours since she fell. How long can an 18-month-old survive, wedged in a pipe, cold, thirsty, and barely able to move? Inside the tunnel, every inch is a battle. The air is stale. The walls could collapse. If the tunnel fails, it doesn't just bury the rescuers. It buries Jessica with them. They keep digging. Through the microphone, they still sometimes hear her. Weak cries, little sounds. Each time she makes a noise, the men in the tunnel dig harder. They can't let this end with silence. Finally, after nearly 2 days of work, a hand touches something new. Cold steel, the old well casing. They've reached the pipe that holds Jessica. But in that moment, no one down there knows if they're close to a living child or to a body. Now they have to open the pipe without killing the baby inside it. They make a small hole into the casing, just below where they think her feet are, then slowly widen it. Through that jagged opening, a rescuer reaches in. He feels a small leg, swollen, ice cold. Her body is jammed so tightly it's as if the earth itself is holding her. Guided by doctors shouting down the shaft, he starts working her free. He scrapes away dirt, eases her twisted leg down, shifts her body a few millimeters at a time. One wrong move could snap bone, or damage her spine forever. Up above, nobody can see what's happening. Live cameras roll on a dark hole and a waiting crowd. Underground, everything comes down to one final pull. Just after midnight, roughly 58 hours since Jessica disappeared into that black circle, the rescuer feels her body suddenly slip free of the pipe. She's covered in mud. Her face is bruised. Her right leg is twisted and discolored, but she is breathing. She makes a small, hoarse sound. Alive. Hands pass her backward through the tunnel, to the bottom of the new shaft, then upward, from one rescuer to the next. At the surface, with the world watching, a paramedic emerges carrying a tiny bundle of blankets and bandages. For a split second, cameras catch a little arm reaching out from the white wrap. The backyard explodes in cheers and tears. In living rooms across America, millions of people finally exhale. They did it. They got her out. Jessica is rushed to Midland Memorial Hospital. Doctors fight to warm her up, rehydrate her, and save her damaged leg. She needs multiple surgeries. In the end, part of her right foot has to be amputated. She's too young to remember the well clearly, but her body never forgets. Scars, a different walk, pain that flares up years later. Time passes. The cameras go away. Jessica goes to school, grows up in Midland, eventually marries and has children of her own. To the world, she is still baby Jessica. To herself, she is Jessica McClure Morales, a woman whose life was almost cut off 22 feet below her own backyard. The story could end there, but for some of the people who saved her, it didn't. For most viewers, baby Jessica's rescue was a 2-day miracle with a happy ending. For some rescuers, those 58 hours never really ended. Men who crawled into that tunnel, who listened to a baby cry in the dark while the nation watched, started to suffer later. Nightmares, panic, memories they couldn't shut off. Paramedic Robert O'Donnell, who went into that tunnel and helped bring Jessica out, carried that night on his shoulders for years. The cameras called him a hero, but when the lights left Tanner Drive, he was still a man who had been face-to-face with death under the crushing pressure of the world's eyes. Normal calls felt empty. The adrenaline, the attention, the stress, none of it truly went away. In 1995, 8 years after the rescue, Robert O'Donnell died by suicide. Jessica survived well. Some of the people who pulled her out did not survive the memory. The rescue also forced America to look down at thousands of forgotten wells. Laws changed. Old holes were finally sealed. All because one little girl fell into a gap nobody bothered to close. This wasn't a mountain peak or a war zone. It was a regular backyard in a regular town. Every parent who watched thought the same thing. That could have been my child. It showed what happens when strangers, experts, and neighbors decide that one small life in the dark is worth everything they have: time, skill, and sometimes their own peace of mind. If stories like this remind you how fragile and how powerful human life and teamwork can be, hit the like button. It helps this channel reach more people who care about real survival and rescue stories. And if you want more true tales from wells and caves, open oceans, deserts, and ice, make sure you subscribe. There are many more stories of endurance, sacrifice, and impossible rescues still to tell.